Hello and welcome to the Mediocre Marketer. I'm your host, Whitney Cowell. Joining me today is Noelle Taylor. She's the Director of Marketing at Taylor Logistics, helping me launch our pilot episode. Welcome, Noelle.
Whitney, thank you for having me. I did get a chance to look at some of the other guests, and it's all uphill from here. So, PMM listeners, it's all uphill, so don't worry. There's more to come, and it'll be better.
It's going to be great. On this podcast, there are no rules, so we may or may not talk about marketing. I think today we will be. But I would love to dive into your start in the marketing world, how you ended up where you are at Taylor Logistics.
Well, 2018, I started at Taylor, but kind of rewinding for a sec, I graduated from Ohio University, not the Ohio State, Ohio University, not the Buckeyes. Totally different. People confuse it all the time, and different school. But graduated from there with a degree in customer experience and user experience. So actually, logistics is part of the family business, Taylor Logistics. So kind of always had a niche there. Being in the family, grew up, going to work with my dad, worked in the warehouse for a little bit, making multi-packs. So kind of always was going to join the family business at some stage. And with my marketing and kind of customer experience degree, we had no marketing department at Taylor whatsoever. Had a Facebook page, a website, a LinkedIn maybe, and that was kind of it. And my uncle asked me to join on and kind of develop out and build out our marketing program.
Right.
Yeah.
Awesome. And so when you joined, so like you said, it was kind of bare bones, which I feel like is not uncommon for the freight industry, specifically in like the 3PL space. So when you did an evaluation of where you guys were at and what you thought would be best for your next steps, how did you get started in that process? What did that look like for you?
Well, with it being so bare bones, I feel like there was nothing but opportunity. So kind of starting at the ground was awesome. I think that's like the key, the golden standard. If you can walk in and help kind of shape something, that is what I was looking forward to. But what really started with was our website, right? If I'm going out to eat or what have you, I'm going to a website first. I want to see what it's about. I want to look at the menu. I want to check out the vibe, see what's going on. And our website wasn't really it. It didn't really tell our story. It didn't, say what we're about, what we're doing, our mission, our goals. Why do you want to partner with Taylor? So that was kind of the start. And obviously with that comes SEO and inbound marketing and a whole slew of other ginormous things that come with that. But that was kind of the start. We need a website. We need to figure out and establish our brand identity and kind of build it out from there.
Okay. And then, so after you decided, like, this is what we need to do, this is where I think we're going to get started, how did you have those internal conversations to start building out the content and the strategy and your goals to follow through with that vision?
So, firstly, kind of develop that brand as a whole and like what exactly we're trying to communicate. So, from colors to fonts to why we exist, what are we doing? All those conversations. It was a lot. Yeah. All those conversations had to start to like even start a campaign, right? And then from there came campaigning. And once we start to see the return on investment from creating that website, then kind of launched more things. And then the introduction of HubSpot and more of an inbound marketing approach upon that have really led into where we are today.
And so when you guys were implementing new technology, how did you decide like what to evaluate? Because I know different companies of different sizes with different teams, some that outsource, some that don't.
Right.
The tech stack is a really big conversation. So how did you approach that when you were making those decisions?
Great question. We had nothing of the sort, like CRM, no like Sprout Social, nothing. So again, very bare bones. So leveraged and looked at a couple of different, platforms, did some demos, looked at pricing, and then overall saw what was best for our company. So with HubSpot, for example, it does more than just our marketing. It does a lot for us. It's sales, it's service, it's kind of everything. So that was really kind of a no-brainer for us. We, needed to choose a platform that wasn't just specific to one area. It kind of needed to branch out because when you have marketing, you have sales. And then when you have sales, you have service. So That's kind of where we started, and HubSpot's been awesome for us. I think it's a platform that is great for small, medium-sized businesses, and you can
Mhm.
really grow with it too. So where we started in 2018 was actually when we got HubSpot to where we are now. It's insane how much we actually use the platform, and it's done great for us.
Good. So, what advice would you give to somebody who maybe is walking into a company or is currently at a company that is a little bit more bare bones and is thinking, it's time to kind of crank up the volume on what we're doing here? What suggestions would you give to that person to get that conversation started and really have that buy-in from the leadership team?
Well, I would say research, have some numbers, have something to back it. But if you haven't gotten there yet, try things. You may fail, but you also might succeed. And then you'll have that
Mhm.
proof to move forward with something else, right? So I don't know, try it and it sticks. I think that's marketing, right? I mean,
It is.
do what you can with what you have. And if you can't, like, just try it. I mean, in logistics, we have a lot of roads, it's a lot of blue, red. Try something different. Maybe it'll stick. Try a TikTok, try and interactive timeline, something, whatever. I say try it. And then once you kind of have the proof of trying and it does succeed, or maybe it doesn't, then try something else. But once you have that, I think that's huge.
Yeah. And I agree with you. I think that's something that marketers are sometimes like scared to do is avoid what I like to call random acts of marketing. And I've referenced that a couple of times like throughout this series. But when when you look at the numbers, when you look at, I would say like not spending too much time with competitors, it's nice to know what they're doing. But I think it's important to say what's our mission? What are our values? And then where is our audience? And if we can meet them where they are, I don't think that there's harm in trying something new. Like how else are you
Right.
going to get really good data to say, I think this can work? For us, like starting a TikTok, a lot of people were like, I don't know that that's the place that I would put a lot of
Right.
time and energy into. But when it came time for like hiring, that's where we found and like caught the attention. We were building relationships with potential new hires. So it
Right.
did impact the business and meet a goal. It just may not have looked like the most traditional way to do that in like the long term sales side of things. So
Right.
I think to your point, trying new things it's scary, but if you're not willing to fail, it might not be the initiative that you need to start.
Right. And I'm a big proponent on, asking for forgiveness, kind of trying first and then just being like, you know what, that one didn't work. Obviously, if there's a huge dollar amount, maybe don't be doing that with like, maybe this will work, maybe it won't. That's not something I'm saying to do. But TikTok, for
Mhm.
example, you're, not spending much money going on there. You're creating a couple of videos and look at how it's helped. Like you never know unless you try. And I'm also pretty big on kind of breaking that tradition a little bit, trying other things. What are other industries doing? Like looking at food and beverage, looking at tech, looking at automotive. What is cool in their space? Because that's what I'm trying to figure out. And like where our customers are. Like, are they listening to podcasts? What are they listening to?
Mhm.
Are they listening to Guy Raz? Are they listening to this other person? And trying to tone in on that.
Sure. So you guys have done a lot. You have done a lot at Taylor Logistics, and you've been very successful in what you've built so far. So what's next for you guys? Where has what you've learned so far, where is it taking you next?
Well, thank you. Really appreciate it. There's an awesome team at Taylor that makes it all happen. So couldn't do it without them. And our leadership team is phenomenal. So shout out. But what's next is honestly, we're kind of going back to 2018. We're maybe doing a little bit of rebranding, maybe going to launch a new website. Maybe it's going to be entirely different than what we're used to because we're stepping into the future. We have our mission, where we're going, why we exist, what we're doing, how we behave. How do we put this into digital platform and make it unique to us, unique to our industry? So we're kind of going back, but we're kind of going forward at the same time. So whole new like look on Taylor a little bit. And if you're listening to this and you're from the company and you're like, we're doing getting a new website, perhaps, perhaps. So yeah, lots in the works. I'm very excited for this upcoming year. and in the future.
That's exciting. So, how are you working on this plan? Why is it a perhaps? What are these conversations? Because there are probably other people walking into the new year, into a new role, that are evaluating their businesses saying it might be time for us to make a change too. How do we have that in a very smart and efficient way? Those conversations coming into now 2024.
Great question. So I had to go to our leadership team and kind of list out the facts. This is where we're currently at. This is, where I think we could be, and kind of show
Mhm.
them the potential and show them where we're at. And that's really what's stuck. And then also having kind of that dollar amount. How much do I think it's going to potentially cost us to do a full redesign, and then get their blessing? So that's kind of where we're at. We really need to focus on our SEO, overall user experience, and kind of doing a little bit of less is more. Right now, it's a lot of more is more. We're spoon feeding a lot of content. It's a lot. So what we're really looking to do is simplify things and make it super easier for people trying to find Taylor or work with us or partner with us or come work at Taylor. So it was a whole deck, a whole 55-page deck on why we should do this potentially or not. And I think I got them on board with the dollars and with the work that'll go into it.
I love that. I like that you put together something that is comprehensive. How when it comes to like explaining to the leadership, so like after presentation it's time to talk, we have questions, right? What kind of safe space do you make for the leadership team to kind of get involved, or is that something that you think is important when you're tackling a project that is, the biggest asset that a company has, at least in the marketing stance, is the website?
Right.
So how do you think that it's important to involve leadership, if at all?
I think it's super important. I think the more you involve them, the better. I don't know how
Mhm.
big, leadership teams can be. Ours is relatively pretty small. So, and they're all in their different departments and things of that sort, but I need their advice. I need their expertise on their areas to be able to tell me if this is right, this is wrong. But also just having other perspective, I think, is
Yeah.
phenomenal. So I say absolutely include them. Ask for feedback, positive, negative. Take that feedback and roll with it, kind of sit with it. Do a ton of user testing outside of your leadership team.
Yes.
I think even asking individuals within your organization to look at something for you or ask for their advice, I think is phenomenal, and I'm working on. So I say, more is more when it comes to feedback.
Yeah.
I love it, and it really helps me, and helps the marketing department at Taylor.
Yeah, I love that that's your perspective because that was mine too. So we also did, I would say, not like a full rebrand. I called it a refresh because we kept a lot of elements, but we changed a lot of elements.
Right,
Um, and so for us, that was a survey that went out just answering questions about how the company perceives itself, how we think that customers perceive us, what our
mhm,
ideal perception would be in the marketplace. And from there, we had leadership interviews. So we actually made those a little different, a little bit more in detail. And we separated some leaders and then we grouped together leaders that some that work together, but then some that are in totally different departments, just because I think it made the conversations a little bit more diverse, a little more dynamic. And we got really interesting feedback from doing that. So I like that you said more is more with feedback, because sometimes on sites more is more is not the best approach. But I think when it comes
right,
to when it comes to the data and where you're figuring out the the milestones, the goals for your vision, more is amazing when
right.
it comes to the perception of the company and how they view themselves, where they see themselves, where they think the company is headed. It keeps everybody on the same page.
Right. And we've gone through a lot of change, I think, throughout 2023. We
Mhm.
launched like our organizational clarity and got everyone on the same page with kind of our mission and our vision. And that doesn't currently reflect in our brand right now. So I
Yeah.
think everyone is going to be so excited if we launch a new website that it really reflects our organizational clarity, who we are, why we exist. I think people are going to be so excited for it that
Mhm.
I'm excited to get feedback for it and all the things, but it just doesn't really resonate with us right now and is something that I think our leadership really saw. Okay, we just did this massive rollout, this huge organizational clarity rollout throughout the year, and now it's time to show that to everyone.
Yeah. I think what you said right there was really important, that it's not serving you anymore. And I think it is okay as the leader of a department, as a contributor in a creative space, to say, I don't know that this is reflecting us right now, where we are today and where we envision ourselves in the years to come. Sites are growing and evolving assets, and I think it's wonderful to keep them, obviously updated, maintained, so on and so forth. But sometimes you do need to step back and redo.
Right.
Um, and I think that can be a very intimidating conversation for somebody to have in their organization. So I guess to that, what was there something that happened or changed that made you say, guys, I think it's time? How did that thought process come about for you? Because you have, like I said, crossed a lot of milestones at Taylor Logistics and implemented a lot of things for you guys. The site's a big one to tackle.
Mhm. Well, I mean, when you have a like cultural shift internally, I think your outward brand also needs to reflect that. And it just didn't anymore. And our leadership team was so behind this whole cultural shift that has been absolutely amazing for our organization that we need to reflect that externally. It's not just
Yeah.
internal anymore. It needs to be external. Everyone needs to feel the Taylor love. And so that's kind of where the conversation sort of started. And people were like, you know what, you're right. It is kind of giving maybe a little too old school. We are 180 years old, or 180. We're 175, getting ahead of myself 5 years, but we've been around since 1850. That's where I was getting with that. So that is kind of our baseline, but that's not who we are. We're forward thinking. It's just
Mhm.
not, it wasn't us. And it really did actually stem from our culture. We're trying to outwardly show us. I think in logistics, it can get kind of difficult when you're selling a service to really showcase people and fun and good vibes
Yeah.
and good energy. So that's really what we're trying to do. And I think it resonates with potential new business, with suppliers, with new talent, all of that. So that was kind of the basis, is that cultural shift.
Mhm.
Hopefully our potential new website and new kind of vibe will reflect that.
I love that. Yeah. And I think the company, to your point earlier, was, they would be very excited about this. I think when you come from the perspective of the rest of the company, when you're looking at making certain changes, is really important. People like to feel represented.
Right.
And when you approach the conversation in the rollout, not just like, hey, we're doing this thing, but we've had this idea. Here's why.
Mhm.
Here's where it came from. We want your involvement. We want to hear your feedback. When you really make it an us type of initiative, I think those things can be really successful. And I think that mindset kind of stems into other areas of marketing as well, right? Like
Right.
if you're going to be doing a campaign, it doesn't just need to be something that the marketing team thought of and they said, "Oh, we're going to roll this out and see what happens."
Right.
When you make it an us initiative with the teams that it impacts, I think it's hard to go wrong, especially if you're keeping your mission and your values in mind.
Absolutely. I mean, very well said. There's also so much that has changed in even this past year within our
Oh yeah.
industry that we need to now reflect and kind of jump on board or showcase, from automation to sustainability initiatives, all the things. So if we're going to be doing all these new pages, we might as well kind of look at our brand right now as a whole and see, okay,
Hmm.
does this make sense, or should we kind of tweak it to reflect all of these new and amazing things? And that's kind of where it started. It started with the culture, then other things kind of branched out from it, which has been awesome. But it's totally, like you said, been a we initiative, which I really like
Yeah.
that you said that. I'm definitely going to take that and run with it. But yeah, it's been really incredible.
That's really exciting. And I appreciate you sharing so openly and honestly what you guys are doing. That's the point of what I'm doing here, is to hear good stories and to give people maybe a little bit of encouragement to try something, to learn something.
Right.
Um, and so I do have a question for you. And normally I ask this at the beginning of every episode. I was excited, so we just dove straight in with yours. But I would love to know, what is the biggest mistake that you've made in your career so far? And what are you doing or have you done to bounce back from that? What happened afterwards?
That's a great question. I think early on in my career, it was really not capitalizing on networking opportunities enough.
Mm,
I think I lacked a little bit of confidence in myself, my position in the industry, this industry as a whole. Like, I just didn't think I had enough knowledge. Um, and kind of built upon that through some awesome mentorships and coaching has been awesome. I'm trying to talk to anyone and everyone. I think that some of the best resources are just talking to people and listening to what they're doing. That's been super helpful for me. But in the early stages of my career, and even a couple of years ago, I did not capitalize on events. Networking, meeting with people, talking with people, was a little shy, a little reserved. Since come out of my shell a little bit, but it's important to kind of know your place in the industry and where you are and where you want to go and meet those people, talk to everyone, learn their stories, learn their background, what their future holds, things of that sort. So I would just say network, talk, engage, go to events, in-person events, web events, whatever you can do is awesome. I think those are, some of the biggest learnings in my career for sure. Reading and everything is great, but talking with people, there's nothing like it.
yeah. You have to, I think that that interaction, even just like webinars, I attend some of those. I like them. I've been on a few of them, but something about being able to have that conversation, or,
Mhm.
if you're going to an event, finding who you want to talk to beforehand, setting up, being, I think, intentional with your time and
Absolutely.
your input versus your output when you do invest your time, I think is really key. And I love that because I used to network, and then COVID happened. And that was a really good excuse for me to sit on the couch and not do anything about it, not try very hard.
Same, yeah.
2023 is when I decided to, or I guess 2022 is when I decided to like log into LinkedIn and actually do something about it,
Right.
which feels really late. uh, but
Super short.
that, I think there's always like it's always moving forward, so there's always space to just pick up and walk forward.
Right. No, and your presence on LinkedIn is so great. I love your posts. I live for them. Anytime I
Thanks.
get a notification that you have posted, always got to go in there and read it. But yeah, it seems like that you picked up LinkedIn. I've been trying to go to conferences, even ones that aren't really in my realm, just to learn, to grasp, to talk to people.
Mhm.
So, COVID was a tough time, but now it's time to get out there. And I hope some of your listeners to see you guys at conference, come say hi, trying to go to as many as possible this year. So we'll see you out there.
Yeah, and I do have one more question about the conference piece and the
Mhm.
networking piece, because I also agree that that's really pivotal to a career. I love that that is the mistake that you've taken away as one that's kind of held you back, and that you're actively, it is your goal. You've been at a lot. I've seen you at a lot of conferences. We met at a conference actually.
Right, right.
So, as a marketer in the supply chain, how do you balance your conferences that are geared towards marketing, right? Like what you do and how you do it, and then the conferences that are geared towards the supply chain, where your customers and your prospects are?
So we break it down a couple of different ways. An excellent question. So we have a couple different buckets. So there's education, which is purely just going and learning and kind of absorbing.
Hmm.
There's marketing, which kind of falls into that for me, the education piece too. And then there's, industry, more lead generation ones. And those are the ones that we're spending a little bit more money on. We're probably going to sponsor something, even if it's the water station. We might not add an education event, but trying to pick and choose based off previous experiences or just intel from people in the industry of which ones to exactly go to. But we do tend to spend a little bit more time and effort into those ones that are a little bit more lead generation
Yeah.
focused for, obvious reasons. But the three buckets there, we try to make, fill those up for the whole year.
As a marketer, do you think it's important to also go to the lead gen ones and not just send sales to those?
Oh, 1,000%. Yes. Absolutely. I think the more people you can send a conference, the better. Obviously, you can't send your whole team. That's insane. But having operations there is key. Having some of our support staff there is awesome. Customer service, anyone and everyone, I think is key to go to conference. If you can go, go. If you're interested in going, I try to send whoever we can who's interested.
Okay. That's good to know. Because some people say, "Oh, well, that's not for me," or, it'd be better suited for somebody that could like talk to this prospect and land the deal. Whereas I kind of lean towards where you sit with it, where it helps me, if I can be a part of that conversation, let's introduce ourselves as a team.
Right.
And B, to like watch and learn how they like to engage with prospects, I think helps us shape our messaging
Right.
in some of the campaigns and some of the content that we create. So um, it's interesting how you guys like split your finances with that. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's just not something that I think we talk about a lot as marketers in our industry. Is where do we like to allocate our budget now that we're back in person?
Right. No, I think that's a phenomenal point. And I think our whole goal is that everyone in the company's in sales, right? It doesn't matter your role or what
It's
department you're in.
true.
We're all in sales. Everyone knows that 15-second pitch and can hopefully get, if you're asking for a particular service, can get you to the right resource, right? That's the goal. So you can technically send whoever and anyone to conference. It's just a matter of interest and wanting to go.
Yeah, I love that. And I think especially when there are conversations of like goals, what are we trying to get out of this, what is this conference, which is something that we're kind of doing with our teams. These people would be really great here,
Right.
these people would be really great over here. And then having those like meetings afterwards, those recaps internally, I think keeps that like the inspiration, the flame that kind of is sparked, at least for me when I'm in person and I get to talk to people and shake hands. But also, I think it gives us a little bit more data as we come back. And okay, so now we have our next steps. Now we know, was this worth the revenue? This is what we spent. This was what we gained from it immediately. And then afterwards, this is where like the sales piece split from the marketing piece.
Right. Right. And I think it's a great approach. I mean, a lot of conferences now are massive, right? You can't just send one person from your organization.
It's not
They're going to
enough.
get, no, yeah, they're going to get lost in the sauce. It's way too overwhelming. You might not be hitting the right areas. So it is really crucial to send, a team and a
Yeah.
diverse team would be great. Someone from ops, someone from support, someone from marketing, sales. If you can do that, do it. I know that sounds kind of crazy and like a lot of people, but these conferences are getting huge, massive. They're expos, they're crazy. So you have to send a team for sure. And to gain that other perspective, I think is great.
Yeah, I love that. It's a lot of wisdom from you guys. Again, I'm such a huge fan of what you guys are doing, the path that you've taken, and where you've seen growth, not only in your career, but how it's impacted the growth of your company. You guys are doing something right. You've been around for a very long time. So I really appreciate you sharing so many insights into what you're doing and, your hot takes on what marketers and sales teams should be doing in 2024.
Absolutely. I mean, we have to share with each other, no gatekeeping. We all need to lift each other up, spread ideas. If something's working, let us know. It's not a copying thing, it's just success. And when one person's successful, we're all successful. So this industry is big and small at the same time. So
Mhm.
lift each other up is the key.
What is the next conference that you'll be going at? Your first one of 2024, just so if anybody's listening and they want to say hi.
Manifest in Vegas coming up here
Yay.
in February. Very excited. It's the first year of Manifest, right? Or second?
Um, it is. I went
Third?
to Manifest in 2023.
Oh, no way. Okay.
Yeah,
Well, my
it
first
was also
Manifest.
very large and overwhelming. So be prepared.
And unfortunately, I'm the only one going, so I'll make sure to bring a large notebook. But yes, very excited to go. It looks outstanding. Excellent marketing from the Manifest team. So kudos to you guys. It looks like an awesome event. I'm very excited to go. Are you going?
Um, I don't know.
Fair
We'll
enough.
find out. If so, I'll let you know. But
Fabulous.
for anybody else that is going, download the app.
Okay.
Use the resources that they give you.
Pro tip. Pro tip. Great. We'll definitely do that. And then, of course, TMSA is one I go to every year, coming up here in
Yep.
June to celebrate their 100th year. Very, very excited for that one as well.
Well, Noelle, it has been wonderful. We're at our half-hour mark, so I'm gonna let you go. And for anybody that's listening, this was take 3, so this is airing next day. We are ready to rock and roll with the Mediocre Marketer. And Noelle, I just really appreciate you making the first episode a really, really special one.
Well, thank you so much for having me. And like I said, all uphill from here. So if you made it to this, the next episodes are phenomenal. The guests she has on are absolutely insane. And I'm just lucky to be a part of it. So thank you so much, Brittany. Appreciate it.